Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today, let's talk about how to find your ASO failure points. Alright, so today let's talk a little bit more about ASO or App Store optimization. And particularly, let's talk about the different points of failure along the ASO route, right? So earlier this week, I got an email from somebody who I think was releasing his first app, and he asked me to have a look at it. So I did. I said, yeah, looks good, right? And he said, he says, if after a couple months I don't get very many downloads, he says, is it because the app is bad or is it because my ASO is bad? And I said, that really depends, right? You have to look at the numbers and where everything starts to fail. And I started to think about how we all think about ASO and App Store optimization. For a lot of people, it's this magic bullet, right? There's so many people like ASO consultants and everything out there who are, it's become a thing, right? So what I thought I would do today is talk a bit more about my ASO strategies and also looking at the failure points along the way, because ASO is not a magic bullet for everything, right? You can't have like a really bad app and really good ASO and then do really well. But I do think that if you have like a mediocre app with really good ASO, you're better off than the person who has a perfect app and nobody knows about it, right? I just think that's the case, right? And the way I like to think about ASO is that it's like a flow. Like you have this pipeline, practically like the traditional sales pipeline, where you got the big crowds and you're trying to get down to the paying customers. It's a lot like that, and we have all the tools to look at it that way, right? And so to give an analogy, let's say your best friend decides to open up a restaurant, right? And it's going to be this new thing, right? But then after a couple months, he comes to you and says, you know what? I'm not making any money from this restaurant. What should I do? You can't say, well, you should probably fire your chef, right? Because you don't know where things are failing, right? In order for somebody to spend money in a restaurant, lots of things have to happen before that. They have to know the restaurant exists, right? They have to want the food that's in the restaurant. They have to walk in the front door. They have to like something on the menu. They have to order something, and then hopefully they'll leave a review for other people to go through the same journey, and then it starts to snowball, right? And apps are very much the same way, right? We all have different points that we need people to hit, right? First of all, we need to make sure that they know that the app exists, right? If they don't know the app exists, it could be the best app in the world, but it doesn't matter because they don't know it exists, right? They need to find it in search. So if they can't find it, then it might as well not even exist, right? They have to, when they see the icon, they have to actually go and look at the page. They have to walk through the front door. They have to decide whether or not to download it. They have to, once they're in the application, whether or not they're going to make an in-app purchase, or if they're going to see any ads they like, anything like that. So any one of those stages, there could be a blockage, right? The wonderful thing about ASO, ASO, it's not a magic thing, it's just optimizing for the app stores, right? You have to make sure that your stuff can be found. You have to make sure, the same way that the restaurant has to make sure the sign is visible from the street, or he has to make sure he has the yellow pages, he has to make sure what people are looking for, they're able to find it. That's kind of the way we have to do it. Now, the great thing about both iTunes and Google Play is that they've given us the tools, and this is just like fairly recent. It's like in the last year or two. When I started out, we didn't have any of these kind of things, but they have the tools to find out whether or not this kind of stuff works. So when the guy asked me whether or not he would be having an ASO problem or an app problem, it all depends on the numbers. So let's just walk through the stages. I'm going to talk about the same app. We'll talk about my biggest app, which is called EarSpy on the App Store, and it's called EarAgent on Google Play because we had to change it for policy reasons, right? And let's look at the different stages using the tools. These are not paid tools; these are just tools within Google Play, or at iTunes and Google Play. So first, have a look at my screen here, and so here's my app page on iTunes Connect for EarSpy, right? And if you go up here to the upper right hand corner, you got App Analytics. If you go from the main page, you could just see the analytics for all of your apps at one time, but it's easier for me just to go into this. If I go ahead and click on this, at this point I can see every single stage along the way, right? So, and ASO deals with a lot of different things, lots of different optimization points, but knowing where your ASO is failing depends on what kind of results that you're getting. So here you go. So we got the top row here. The top row is the only one I really ever pay much attention to, although the bottom row, I'm sure it provides value, especially the crashes, right? So you can see here that over the last 30 days, this application has had just over 500,000 impressions, which means that people were searching and it shows up. Or it could have been like featured, or it could have been whatever, but for whatever reason they saw it in a list, right? So it's becoming aware to people, right? But of those 500,000 people, only 55,000 actually clicked on it and looked at the product page. So whatever. So this is a problem on the ASO scale. This is a failure of, well, it's not really a failure because we don't expect 100% conversion, but people they've seen the icon, they've seen the title, they've seen the and everything like that, but they weren't compelled enough to actually click on it and view more details, right? And then we got the product page here. So at this point, it's the work of the screenshots, the app video, the description, and more the app video and the screenshots than the other stuff, because people don't read the description as much as they used to, and a really good video is really good. And this is, I was really, especially on the Apple side, I hate doing the Apple videos. They're so difficult to do. On Google Play, you just do a YouTube video, upload it, it's fine, right? But on the Apple side, it's a bit more difficult, right? So here, of the 55,000 people who saw it, I could see that only 20,000 have actually downloaded it, and that's actually pretty good, right? So they've read it, they looked at the page, they saw the screenshots, and at that point they made that decision. So we have the two different jumps there, right? First, did they even know it exists? Did they walk through the front door? Did they like the sign? All that kind of stuff, right? And then once they're in the application, only a whopping 270 people actually made a purchase. Oh, that's depressing. But a lot of my revenue comes from advertisements too. But at this point, you see when they're in the application, then do they even know the in-app purchases exist? Are they compelling enough for them? All that kind of stuff. So in a traditional sales funnel, it would be like going down, and you have the bit at the bottom. And if there's a blockage anywhere in there, then you have to widen that part. So this is why ASO focuses a lot on the icon design, on keywords. So like at the impression size here, in order to even have an impression, the keywords have to be right. The title has to be right. People have to be searching for it. It has to, you have to optimize things in a certain way before they even see the icon, before they even see the screenshot. In order for them to actually get into the product page, at this point, it's the icon and the title, right? When they're seeing that big list of apps there, they have to say, this one looks interesting, and then they go and find more, right? And then if they go into there, then they actually make the decision to purchase. So this would be the result of the screenshots, the reviews, the descriptions, the video, all that kind of stuff. So ASO is not magic. There's no special skills there. It's just thinking things in a logical way. How are people finding it? And for a lot of us, the problem is way over here before we even get to the impressions, because our keywords are wrong, or it's too crowded, or there's no way we can even compete on those keywords, right? So we have the same thing over here on Google Play, right? So if I go over here to the app download page for EarSpy, or Ear Agent rather, right? Oh, it's over here under the user acquisition. So if I just go into here, the user acquisition reports, we got the same kind of stuff, but what we don't have is we don't have the impressions. So we start a little bit later in the flow here. So we can see that over the last 7 days, 51,000 people have viewed the page for my application. And of those 51,000 people, so at this point, I know that my keywords were right, at least for that group of people. My icon looks pretty good, all that kind of stuff, but it could be better, right? This is the thing, you're always experimenting, because we could always grow that number. I mean, the most I could ever get in terms of a download in this point of time is the 51,000. And of those 51,000, 13,000 actually downloaded the application, so we have a 26% conversion rate, which makes me think, how can I improve my screenshots? How can I make it a bit more compelling? Are the bad reviews putting people off? Are the good reviews not good enough? All that kind of stuff. And then of those people, of those 13,000 people, only 17 buyers. That's the reality of the app market. At least it is for me. But I know other people do much better, right? And then 4 people repeat buyers. So So for me, it's always thinking, how can I improve different stages along that route, right? So if somebody says to me, is my app bad, or do I have an ASO problem? It kind of depends. If you're not getting any impressions and nobody knows your app exists, you have an ASO problem, right? If people are downloading your app and they're uninstalling it right away, then maybe you have an app problem. And it's always thinking about the different ways on the chain. Let me show you one here that's doing really, really bad, just to give you an idea. This one is Agent X. It's got hardly any downloads, right? And the keywords are really bad and all that stuff. So here you can see over the last 7 days, I've had 82 store listing visitors, right? If I had a bus, I could fit them all on the bus. That's how bad this is, right? 10 of them installed, so really low conversion rate, which means my keywords are bad. So the fact that I've only had 82 visitors means that the market is too crowded. My keywords are probably too broad and too generic. So my keywords that I'm doing for this one are like learn algebra and math, and that's just way too crowded. So it's not even showing up like high enough up in the listings, right? And then the installers and the blah blah blah. So the nice thing about Google Play is that you have, if you go under store presence under here, you have store listing experiments. So you could try out different things. And with Google Play, you usually get a lot better feedback on that. So anyway, I really wanted to go through this just once again, talking about the basics of ASO, because there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of stuff that's, it almost borders on mystic, like, what time of day you upload the app and all this kind of stuff. But it really is looking at these different key points in the pipeline, and where can you optimize them, and where can you make those points bigger. Anyway, I hope this has been a little bit helpful today than other days. And anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Doesn't matter how hard you might try.